Nigerians. With insecurity remaining a major challenge in the country, some persons like Katsina State Governor, Governor Dikko Umaru Radda, is advocating for civilians to own arms to be able to defend themselves in the face of danger. He wants the federal government to allow individuals to buy and own weapons such as AK-47 rifles and RPGs. Recall that this is not the first time a governor is asking the citizens own guns to defend themselves. The big question is, should Nigerians be allowed to carry AK-47 rifles? But joining us from our studio in Abuja is an international security risk management consultant, Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, with the security situation on the ground, we know that this is not the first time a governor is suggesting this. We recall that the former governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, also had mentioned that perhaps it was high time for the people of the state to, arm themselves against those who were, invading their farms and killing them at the time, so to speak. The security situation in at the state at the time was quite concerning for the governor. But when you look critically at the situation of arming ourselves, is self-defense the way to go when we are talking about addressing this security challenge?
Thank you very much, Veronica. It's almost like the case of the chicken and the egg. The current uproar and demand for the states to be empowered to use or acquire arms to protect the citizenry is being propelled by the frustrations of people and the perception that perhaps the policing actors can no longer protect the ordinary citizen of Nigeria. And based on that sense of responsibility, perhaps this is one of the reasons why state governors are clamoring to have some kind of weapon to at least provide that line of self-defense, and therefore creating assurances for the people that they can be self-preserved and, of course, resist to a certain extent incursions or attack by either bandits or terrorists or whatever groups in all their ramifications. And therefore, this debate is now upbeat, and there's need to look critically at the need and review, perhaps go back to the Firearms Control Act of Act number 32 of 1959, Cap F28, Laws of Federation of Nigeria, which is still the extant law that regulates the control of arms in Nigeria. As of 1959, Nigeria was yet to get independence. So if we still are comfortable using that particular act to drive global events when the entire global security balance have changed, where threats have changed, dimensions of criminality have changed, then there's need for a lot of introspection. And in fact, to my mind, there's supposed to be a state of emergency declared on this issue of small arms and light weapons proliferation to ensure that the state is able to have the upper hand to control the use of arms and to determine who or what strata of society can actually possess arms, and denying people of right to self-defense is also inimical to rights of human beings, human rights of people. So there is a new thinking that we could go down and allow, at least at the level of community policing, the level of state policing, allow some degree of weapons to be carried in order to create those desired layers of protection for the citizenry. But when this is done, I believe this clamor will be minimized, and of course the lives and properties may be better safeguarded. This is my take on this, Veronica.
So are you outrightly saying that you subscribe to what the governor has said, that people should be allowed to bear arms? As you mentioned that the Firearms Control Act of Nigeria should be looked into.
Oh, well, the governor is entitled to his opinion. He's the governor of the state. And as you are aware, Zamfara is in the forefront of banditry, terrorism, of course, because of his geopolitical position and proximity to the borders and, of course, the Sahel. And it's becoming home or the headquarters of terrorism in Nigeria. And here comes a governor who has assessed the situation. And don't forget that the governor himself has other state security apparatuses that report to him, that provide information. But, you know, when someone is frustrated and you make all the efforts to get sufficient protection and you don't get, and people get killed every day, the people will rather go back to say, no, we gave the states charge to look after us. And then constitutionally, the notion that the welfare and security of the citizenry shall be the primary purpose of government, as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, will readily come to mind. So this is why I advocate that there should be a rethink. It's not that every Tom, Dick, and Harry should now be brought to a very large state armory and be issued AK-47 is an assault weapon, and it's a military type weapon that is not really designed for close quarter battle, security of communities, protection and all that. But it has become the weapon of choice for terrorists, terrorism, bandits, kidnappers, all sorts of criminals, because of the ease of its usage. You don't need to go to acquire a degree to use the AK. You only need minimum training. And of course, if you go back to the various concepts of small arms and light weapons, you will understand that small arms and light weapons do not fire themselves. It is people that use them, and how they use them, and that's what impacts on society. And there it brings me to the issue of the policing actors, whether they are actually enough or lopsided. Because according to the United Nations recommendation, one police officer is expected to protect 450 citizens. And if you look at that and compare with what is existing in Nigeria, at least by available statistics, we have one police officer to 650 citizens. And so that brings up a shortfall of about 190,000 policemen that needs to be recruited and used. And that is one, to meet up with the UN recommendation. But that is not happening. Even though the police is trying to recruit, the recruitment process is not adequate and is far between. And in the intervening period, you will see that the deployment of police officers also is lopsided. And it will appear as if police officers are more used in protection of VIPs and in protection of state officials, much more than that which is recommended, that one policeman should be available to protect 450 citizens. So you can just take a cursory look across what happens in convoys all over the country and see how many policemen, civil defense men, soldiers will be seen escorting VIPs, and how many of them, if you had removed them individually and counted, times 450 or even times 650 Nigerians, you will see that the one person, one individual is having an overkill of security protection. And this is where all this are removed from the society. And therefore, that is why that yawning gap is there. And that is why the cry from the governor, as in this case of Zamfara, is so loud at this time. It won't be the first time. Amontekun was created, Bubuagu and other forces are created, but they are asking for usage of weapons because, you know, this weapon, there's what they call balance of weapons. And if you look at what the power relations theories, you will see that the more weapons are being possessed by illegal arms criminals, the more the legitimate forces will demand for more sophisticated weapons, thereby creating a demand and supply issue. So there's need now for a large-scale discussion, debate on the issue of small arms and light proliferation and how to mop up illicit arms that are lying almost everywhere. There's hardly any corner of the street that you don't find at least one illegal weapon, one locally made pistol hiding somewhere in somebody's hands. So there is that need, the compelling need, for us to take a good look at it. The government has a lot on its hand. There are plethora issues that need to be taken care of. But insecurity will bring to naught most of the efforts that will be in place if we don't take necessary actions. And that requires square pegs in square holes.
All right. We would expatiate on what government has to do, especially when you talk about square pegs in square holes, what you mean when we return from this break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We've been talking with security risk management consultant, Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired, before we went on the break, and we're talking about this matter of Katsina State Governor, Governor Dikko Umaru Radda, seeking or advocating that civilians own arms to be able to defend themselves in the face of danger. And you mentioned something, Commodore, before we went on the break, and I said that you were going to expatiate on that, and that has to do with you saying that government has a lot to do with regards to addressing this matter, especially with regards to putting square pegs in square holes. And I'm asking you to expatiate on that. What do you mean exactly? Well,
simply speaking, what I mean is that the issue of proliferation of small arms and light weapons need to be looked at more critically. And in doing so, we will need to look at the current disposition of small arms and light weapons, and which, first of all, looking at there are two perspectives to look at this dimension of proliferation. There is the licit and the illicit proliferation of small arms and light weapons. And when we talk about the licit, let's take that as an example. That is all the arms that are legitimately placed in the hands of state agencies, the army, the police, all the other agencies. And then that places them as custodians of illicit weapons. And then even under this illicit proliferation, we have the vertical proliferation and also the horizontal proliferation. And let me quickly explain this. The horizontal proliferation will be that state agents like the army, for instance, the armed forces, and the police, will continue to demand for more weapons to counter criminal activities. And they will continue to expand the volume of arms and ammunition that they will require to deal with security situations at any given time. And then that will put pressure on government to buy weapons and continue to buy weapons and continue to expend money on ammunitions, and thereby bringing volumes of arms into society. And then, of course, the vertical proliferation will be those organizations that are new and are not by establishment expected to bear arms. We are beginning to clamor to carry arms. And you begin to wonder what state Nigeria is that some agencies will want to be bearing arms. And I say that the level in which that is happening, there are new organizations being formed. There's one that is getting to some very good reading in the National Assembly, the Peace Corps. These ones will come out and maybe want to demand for arms. The road safety is demanding for arms. So many other agencies that don't necessarily need to bear arms are demanding for arms. This is why I said that there is need to get the Ministry of Defense, for instance, should be the coordinating agency for arms procurement and arms, and then that of the Office of the Accountant General should both be working together to ensure that all arms that are required in the Nigerian state are being procured centrally and they are being stored in the right places. Because by and large, some of the problems being created in society are the problems of arms losses, pilferages from armories, direct theft from state officials, especially when you hear of gunmen gunning down state officials and taking away their arms. So this is why I said that we need to look at it. How many people will need to bear these arms? And we now have a sincere talk with one another to review the threat profile in Nigeria now. If you look at the recent reports, Lagos is becoming a hotbed of kidnapping all of a sudden. And one will begin to wonder what has gone wrong. Is it that there are now more weapons in the hands of the wrong people in Lagos? And you imagine if there are community policies around these areas where these kidnappings are being held, there will probably be some level of fear or resistance from those people in order to protect the citizens living in that particular community. So this is why I said that there is need for square pegs to be placed in square holes and not necessarily looking at the management of it by individuals who are also appointed to manage these issues of proliferation in Nigeria. If you go and take a cursory look at those who are in these committees all over the place, you will be amazed at the kind of people that are there. Of course, because there are opportunities within it to travel and do that. The right people who should be there are not there.
So let's talk about the issue of, you mentioned earlier, before we went on the break, about the fact that the southwest and the southeast part of Nigeria created a regional security agency, Amotekun and Elbeagu. So looking at all of this, don't you think that we should go this way rather than calling on government to give opportunities for citizens to bear arms? Create a security outfit that can help work in synergy with the police and the other security operatives to ensure that banditry is stamped out of the country?
The onus is on the National Assembly. The onus is on the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to have sincere talk. At the local government level, there are administration, there are legislations being made at the local government level, and we all are aware of the various levels of lists that exist in governance structure and what the law allows each level to do. So we must begin to look at reviewing all this and making the issue of community policing, state policing, bring it back to the fore. And then, like you rightly alluded to, if these agencies are there and then they are able to recruit personnel and they know the environment very well, and even the traditional system, the traditional rulers, they have historical positions given to people who will do the policing for that in their kingdom. They know every inch of their terrain. All we need to do is to create laws and then look at guidelines that will ensure that there is no conflict of interest, that people, that leaders do not abuse this structure. Of course, there are lots of safety valves. It's not only Nigeria that will have community policing. We have them. The United States Constitution that we so copiously did a very good part of, adopted to our own constitution. You see how the police in the United States. So policing is at the lowest level of the society, such that if a visitor should go into any community, the community people know that there's a visitor, and they know whose house that visitor has come to. And then they will call the person who is being visited, and they will ask him, oh, you have a visitor, what's the mission? And of course, that kind of situation, the traditional ruler will know that there's a visitor and the duration of the visit and the purpose of the visit. And if the person will be monitored right at that level of community policing. But right now, what we have is that most communities have been sacked. If you go on Google Earth, most of the communities that existed on Google Earth that you could see, especially in northwest Nigeria and some parts of northeast, no longer exist. They've been wiped out by the actions of terrorists and bandits and all that. So those places are ungoverned.
Let me quickly ask you this question, because we are running out of time, and that has to do with ensuring balance where we have security and also uphold the rights of people, because earlier you mentioned that the rights to self-defense, Nigerians have a right to self-defense, but then again we are looking at the matter of insecurity and want to address it and ensure we have a stable society. How do we ensure a balance in 1 minute?
What you need to do to create balance in the society is to ensure, first of all, to make sure that one, the police is made to massively recruit the shortfall of personnel, and that states and local governments should be empowered to recruit hands that will maintain law and order within their society. They will, of course, work with other policing actors in Nigeria. And then there's need for dialogue to see to it that all those incumbrances or suspicions that exist right now are removed. That is doable, and that is the way to go. Thank you.
All right, we must leave this conversation here now. Commodore Abimbola Ayuba, retired international security risk management consultant. Thank you for your time on the program.